Hello, YouTube. Today, I am going to talk to you guys about my experience using one of the major features of the Mavic Air 2, which is Focus Track mode. And specifically, under Focus Track, you have three different modes. You have ActiveTrack 3.0, Point of Interest 3.0, and Spotlight 2.0. So I think ActiveTrack 3.0 is one of the best features of the Mavic Air 2. Most people always wanted a drone where they can autonomously and single-handedly operate the drone while at the same time maybe drive a jet ski, a boat, a car, or whatever you may have. And interestingly enough, under Focus Track mode, the Mavic Air 2 can do all of those. But as you see in this shot, I was fixing up, and this is the raw footage from the drone. Later on, I will have the footage from my phone so you can see what I was actually doing during each of these stages. Initially, you saw the underneath the vehicle. I had the drone on the ground, then I took off, and then I tried to have the vehicle chase me, and I have to say I had some difficulties. So you have to be aware of what you are doing. The Mavic Air 2 doesn't have like a follow me mode. If you think about follow me, then you're thinking about ActiveTrack 3.0. So what does that do? Well, with ActiveTrack, you select an object, which I did for this for my vehicle, which is a Mahindra Roxor, and I expected the drone to follow the vehicle. Well, that did not happen. You can see right here, it's actually focusing on the vehicle, but it's not following the vehicle. So what I did was I mistakenly chose Spotlight instead of ActiveTrack. So the vehicle just had the spotlight pointed towards me, and I could fly the drone anywhere. I wasn't aware of that. I could fly left, right, front, center, anywhere, but the gimbal would have had the camera pointed at me. At this point, I figured out what the problem was. You have to be aware Focus Track mode is not available with some of the higher frame rates. So if you have your camera set at 60 frames per second, you won't be able to use Focus Track mode. You have to lower it down, I think below 30 frames per second. So I ended up using 24 frames per second. Most of the reasons why people go with higher frame rates is because in post-production, you can actually slow it down and have that very smooth panning motion when your drone flies around your object or point of interest. So in this case, it took me a while to figure out why I couldn't get the drone to get into ActiveTrack, and in the end, it turned out that my frame rate was too high. I had it, I believe, at 60 frames per second at 1080p. That was just too high. And I ended up lowering it to 24 frames per second. And at that point, it allowed me to choose ActiveTrack 3.0. So remember, in the hierarchy of items, if you have your drone with the frame rate, ideally most people won't shoot below 1080 these days. So let's say you have it at 1080p, you will need to be at 30 frames per second or lower than that. At that point, you could take your drone up in the air and then draw a box around an object, and then the three Focus Track modes will show up, and then you choose which one you want to use. I believe the most popular and what most people want to use is going to be the ActiveTrack 3.0. Of the three options that will be presented to you, that will be the one on the left. Once you hit it, then it will ask you when to start, and then you can start, and then you drive your vehicle, your boat, or the person can run all around, or the bicycle you're riding, you can get going, and then the drone will just follow you and keep track. Also remember, while it's doing that, you can actually take control of the drone, move it ahead of you, do whatever maneuver you want to do, but at the end, if you let go, the drone will tend to track you from behind. There's also limitations as to the speed, how fast you can go in this mode. Sorry about the glare on my lens. I realized I had a few dust particles, and I cleaned the lens. Well, I didn't do a very good job, so that's why you're having the flaring on the lens. Also, the sun was just about to set, but it was just at that right angle in the sky where it wasn't giving soft shadows, but it was just coming down very harsh. So what I just told you, this is how it happened. So initially I took off. As you can see, the Roxor is moving. The home point has been
updated. Please check it on the map.
The drone updated the home point, so it knows now it can return right there where it took off. And here I adjusted the gimbal. I have it at minus 14 degrees, pointing negative relative to the horizon. And then I attempt to get into the FocusTrack mode, and it just wouldn't work initially. So there I have myself locked on the vehicle, and you can see the three FocusTrack modes below. ActiveTrack 3.0, Spotlight 2.0, and Point of Interest 3.0. And there I'm moving with the Roxor. You can see it's keeping track. But unfortunately, I have the wrong mode selected. Instead of ActiveTrack, I believe I selected, probably I think it was Spotlight. So it's just looking at me now, and just like somebody having a concert, and you have the star of the show, and the spotlight will keep track of the person. So in this instance, I would have needed to move the drone manually myself. And you can see you are always warned about the contrast. The contrast wasn't very good over there, and the drone had a hard time keeping track of where the vehicle was. And here finally I got it figured out, and you can see it's now recording, and I can actually drive off with the drone chasing behind. I try to bring it in a bit closer, and being that I was kind of off-road, this wasn't very interesting, so I tried to move it to the side. And then at the same time, if you look ahead, there's a power line, and in these conditions the drone wouldn't be able to see those lines, so that you are always warned to be careful when you drive or when you fly around power lines. So I increased the altitude, and then just to get some more perspective, I moved the drone to the side, and whenever I let go of the control, it defaults to chasing the vehicle from the rear. It was quite bumpy and a little bit tricky to be able to maintain control of the Mahindra Roxor, and at the same time watch out for what I'm doing. And all of this, of course, is off-road. It's not on public roads. There you have a better view of the lake. The Roxor is lifted 5.5 inches, and it also rides on the bigger tires. So it has a very heavy cap on it because it gets very cold out here in winter. So I could say it's a little bit top heavy. I don't know how bad that is, but I wasn't trying to find out here. So I was taking my time driving along that bumpy road. And there you can still see power lines, and it's very amazing. What I do when I'm going around like this, I try to look out the window and see look for the drone. If I can't find it, I did not change the programming on my drone, so I can click on the function button and the LED light underneath the drone lights up, and it makes it much easier to see in the sky. So the Mavic Air 2, I believe this is one of the most innovative features that it has, the ActiveTrack 3.0. And I believe that's what most people who got this drone are actually using it for, apart from those who do things like hyperlapse and more complicated stuff, which professional drone pilots do. So here I came finally to the end of where I was going, and I will just do a 360 and then a quick run over the lake, just for the heck of it. And I am also enjoying the long battery life of the Mavic Air 2. That is such an innovation. So far, I've never gotten into a situation where I wished I had purchased the Fly More combo. Usually, the battery that I have suffices. 30 minutes, so long as you know what you're doing, largely suffices for me. And there I bring it in and down. Back up, turn around. As you can see on the top right, I still have about 11 minutes of flight left. Oh, that's a big hole. I didn't see that hole when I was there. Wow. Yeah, that's a very big hole right next to where my front right wheel is. So just take a quick look. That's the gimbal, you can see. And you can see how rock solid the image is. I guess I sped this up a little bit. Did I speed it up? I think so. Yes, I must have sped this up a little bit.
Battery level is low. The aircraft will go to the home point in 10 seconds.
And just for the heads up, let's say you were trying to go take a look at that boat. You can turn your drone, put your drone in sport mode. That way you fly faster and get there sooner. And then you do whatever you have to do flying around there, take your time. And then once you're done with your shot, then you put it again once more in sport mode, and it brings it back to you also quite faster. And another thing to remember, the higher you go, the stronger the winds. So, and if you can, as much as possible, always fly into the wind to where your mission is. That way when you're coming back, you're aided by the wind and your drone doesn't have a flat battery en route. Here I'm bringing the drone back. Beautiful country out there. And lower, lower, lower. Thanks for watching, and that's all what I had to share with you guys today.